You have countless options for cars when you're seeking something sensible, most of which are smarter buys than the Toyota Crown. But this eccentric sedan does make an argument, so today I'm going to explain what that is, along with the lows and what's new for 2024. The changes are slight. While Toyota could have been more clear, they've added a little more soft touch materials and copper accents to the interior. The Platinum now has traffic jam assist, which will actually allow you to do hands-free driving below 25 miles per hour if you're in like a traffic jam. It uses a camera to monitor your face to make sure you're paying attention. That feature will also be available for the Limited, and we do see a $700 increase for the Platinum. To start things out, this is a bizarre decision for Toyota. Bringing a well-recognized nameplate from overseas to the US isn't a bad move, but I think the car itself is mildly dyslexic and heavily conflicted. It does things a little backwards, and it lacks a clear audience or goal. Yet that very well could have been on purpose. One of its most redeeming qualities is the comfort. This comes from a few different aspects. I like that the seats are soft. They have great back support with standard lumbar control, and they're not bolstered too aggressively, even here on the Hybrid Max. Though to achieve ultimate luxury cruiser status, I would want a little bit more thigh support, maybe a steering wheel that came out a little far, but that's nitpicking. You also have plush elbow rests, padding for where your knees will go. I would consider it as quiet, even up at highway speeds. Wind noise and road noise are kept down, and over most roads, this is a comfortable car. Even if you go with the XLE or Limited, which do not have adaptive suspension like the Platinum, throwing it into its comfort mode. Even here with the 21-inch wheels, the small to medium-sized brakes in the pavement are hardly transmitted into the cabin. Hitting larger things, it'll jostle you a little, but I've never found it to be harsh. The suspension just tends to float over things, which on the flip side does affect your handling. So the steering, while it is numb, I feel confident placing the Crown exactly where I want it to be. And I think the steering is weighted well too. And while the regular cars get sport mode, if you get the Hybrid Max powertrain, which is exclusive to the Platinum, you get drive modes that sound like they were named by brothers who were trying to one-up each other. Here in Sport S Plus, the suspension feels a little bit more dialed in and allows it to better match the steering, which is kind of quick. I found it to make the regular car feel less settled because of how it paired up with the soft suspension. Even here in the firmest setting, the Platinum is not light on its feet. It really just feels like a crossover. Now, the next reason to buy the Crown is for actually the base powertrain. So that's going to be a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4 that is direct and port fuel injected, so it stays nice and clean for a long time. This works in conjunction with a permanent magnet drive motor up front and a separate one around the rear. It'll have 236 net system horsepower, and I got it to 60 in 6.9 seconds earlier this year. That's going to come with Toyota's eCVT, which, to make things simple, uses an electric motor and a planetary gear set to change the ratio of the engine in a speedy manner, while also making it feel a little bit more linear and natural than your regular CVTs. Still, plant the throttle and it will groan, but I am a fan. It's a responsive powertrain and it'll get like 40 miles to the gallon. Quite a bit for such a large car with standard all-wheel drive. Now, the all-wheel drive system in either model will utilize a separate electric motor at the back. In the standard car, it's front-wheel drive until it needs to be all-wheel. In the Hybrid Max, it's going to prioritize the rear more often. It's still going to have limited power back there, but from what I've seen, that actually does do a pretty good job at sending torque to the rear and also limiting wheel spin, something that other Toyota hybrids aren't particularly great at. But that Hybrid Max powertrain, like a beautiful forest missing a 6-lane highway, has some untapped potential. So under the hood is a 2.4 liter turbocharged inline 4 that also features that direct and port fuel injection, but it is hooked up to a 6-speed direct shift automatic. It doesn't have a torque converter, it has a wet clutch. And sandwiched in between those two up front is an electric motor. There's that separate drive motor in the rear for all-wheel drive. And the result here is 340 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. Even though that is a respectable figure, this powertrain does not transform this into a race car. It more so prioritizes that low to mid-range torque for maximum passing power. The downsides here, there's a big drop in fuel economy. It only comes in the top model, which I get in this kind of low production number, but that means it's expensive. And even though most shifts are smooth, sometimes it's unrefined. And if you're like creeping forward or backing up while it's cold, it can kind of like shudder. But kudos to Toyota for making a hybrid that does feel a little bit more engaging. But the weird thing is, for a car with a manual mode and actual gears, there is no tachometer. Funny enough, for 2024, it seems that Toyota has added a tachometer window. Honestly, for like 95% or more people looking at this kind of thing, I would just go with the regular Crown. Now, the next reason to me is the most crucial aspect of the Toyota Crown, and that is its quirkiness and style. Even at a Vegas nightclub with chimpanzees free roaming, this would garner attention. The unique lifted sedan proportions are eye-catching. It's about 4 inches taller and longer than a Toyota Camry. It really stands out in a parking lot, especially with this loud copper color and the two-tone scheme. I can't say it's gorgeous, but after seeing it in person, I think it's pretty cool. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And on the inside, it's different too, with those aforementioned gold accents placed throughout, a clean dashboard design. I also think the cloth and leather trimmed seats on the base look really neat. It sort of mimics that wool that you would find on a true Japanese domestic market luxury car. Then there's some helpful touches like the small but well-shaped cubbies and the center console that opens on either side. And the next thing that I appreciate about most Crowns would be the features for the money. Standard, the Crown has Toyota's latest competent suite of active driving aids, but this one also has proactive driving assist, which automatically brakes or regens for you if you're approaching another car or corner and you let off the throttle. It can nag you on the highway, so I would personally disable it, but most other features are intuitive. On every single Crown, you're going to find a fully digital gauge cluster along with a 12.3-inch infotainment system. This has a quick response time, a good resolution, and a very stripped down user interface, which makes it easy to use. And Toyota is great at incorporating physical buttons and dials into the interior. Standard, you're gonna have dual zone automatic climate control, heated front seats with lumbar control for the driver, and proximity unlock and lock. Step up to the Limited and you'll get leather upholstery, a panoramic glass roof, ventilated front seats, and heated rear seats with further availability for things like an 11-speaker JBL sound system and a 360 view camera. Plus, each one will have rear console vents and USB ports. While legroom is good, headroom will be tight for those 6 foot and over. And while talking about practicality, even though this has kind of that lift back look, it does come with a traditional trunk, kind of limiting your cargo space. At least each one will come with a spare tire. And the last reason is predicted reliability. Now, this is going to need to prove itself, but the 2.5-liter hybrid system has already done that. They are still using a nickel metal hydride battery in the Crown, but it uses their new bipolar technology to increase efficiency there on the standard model, which I would have no problems recommending to those that highly prioritize reliability, especially going into the second model year of the generation, though the 2.4-liter turbo is pretty new, so that model may need to prove itself a little bit longer. Also, with most hybrids, I would expect a lifespan around 12 to 15 years with the battery. Mileage is not as big of a factor as age. Now let's go back over the drawbacks. So one, you have fairly sharp steering here, but the body control doesn't entirely match that, especially if you don't have the adaptive suspension. And for being such a big car, this isn't any more spacious than a Camry. The headroom in the back is compromised, and really this should have been a liftback to make the most out of this additional footprint. US models miss out on a head-up display. The Lexus ES exists, and if you want a luxury cruiser, is better in my opinion for that purpose, though there are also trade-offs to picking a car like that. There's the 6-speed transmission that wasn't as silky as I was anticipating. Plus there's other quality questions, like I haven't even gotten a good test of this JBL sound system, because if I turn it up at all, it rattles pretty hard within the doors. Even with some of these frustrations that are hopefully fixed in the coming years, I have had some pleasure in my time with the Toyota Crown. While it is a comfortable car for long distance journeys, the thing I appreciate the most about this is how different it is from the rest of the Toyota lineup. It's a cool car to walk out to, and I've even gotten compliments by other people. It just looks like a spaceship compared to most of the bread boxes that are rolling out today. I do wish that this came with less compromises. I mean, if you're going to make it a sedan, make it handle better than a crossover, or if you're going to make it much bigger than a Camry, Give us some more practicality. And after seeing the new Crown Signia SUV, that's probably going to make a lot more sense for real buyers who usually lean towards something more pragmatic, which further confirms to me that the Crown sedan is tailored for a niche audience. Not only the type of people that value comfort, efficiency, and reliability, but the folks that really want their car to stand out. I think Toyota was going for people who want more charisma than competence. And if that's you, I'd recommend taking a look at a Crown. Just think twice, maybe thrice, before going with a Hybrid Max. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like to help me take on the maniacal YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more fun, detailed car content without fluff. Check out my Patreon for an additional podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.